Forgive or not to forgive? That is the question. That's the question that was raised yesterday as Botham Jean's brother not only expressed words of forgiveness, but also demonstrated an act of forgiveness individually by hugging Amber Guyger, who was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison for the murder of his brother. I have been personally affected by violence. My 25-year-old mother, Sharon, was killed in an act of domestic violence that involved a gun. That was in 1980. In 2010, my brother Emmanuel, who was 34, was killed. He was stabbed to death by a friend of the family, friend of his. And in 2016, my 18-year-old nephew Kevin Jr. was killed. With my mother, I knew the perpetrator. We were acquainted with the perpetrator, and even though I was young, I cannot recall all the emotions or whatever I experienced. I wrote a little bit about it in my book, A Breach in the Family, but I was too young to understand the idea of forgiveness, anger, or anything like that. But as time passed, I was able to forgive the person who took my mother's life. I did not forget, and when the person passed away, as I understood, while in prison, when the person passed away, I had a sense of, resolution that it had completely come to an end. When my brother was killed, it was a whole different thing. We were adults. The person who killed my brother was an acquaintance, someone we were familiar with. I had to endure the trial, went to trial, and every time we went to court, that individual showed little to no remorse. It was as if he was like, I'm just here, let's just get this over with. And my family and I would be sitting in the courthouse, in the courtroom, and we'd be just wondering why. He was never put on the stand. He was never offered anything. He pled guilty to the murder and was sentenced to a very long term in prison. But not one time did he address us. Not one time did he address his family. Not one time did he show a sense of remorse. And yet, as much as my preaching self wanted to harbor anger, I didn't. But I didn't necessarily forgive him per se. I left that in God's hands. That was between him and God. With me personally, I was like, you know what? He is getting what he deserves, and that's prison. I can't be mad at him. I can be mad at him, but it happened, and I am still you gotta understand, I'm still living with some of the guilt associated with that death that came with his death. With my nephew's death, with my nephew's murder, that person has yet to be apprehended. He's still out in the streets, and which makes it more difficult when that person will be captured for me to express a sense of forgiveness. I don't know how I will deal with that. But the question with this Botham Jean and Amber Guyger and Botham Jean's brother, afterwards, she was embraced by the judge, and while she was sitting there, one of the black bailiffs was, playing in her hair or doing something with her hair. And to some, that was very disturbing. I watched Vicky Dillard yesterday on Fly Nubian Queen. I think that's the name of the channel. And she expressed the fact that this black bailiff, acted in the role of Mammy. the typical mammy role, where we were the caregivers. The black women were caregivers to white women, and they were as sympathetic and loyal as one could be. You can remember as the story The Help, and in the story The Help, the movie The Help, how the servants and the women who worked in the homes were expected to be faithful, loyal, caring people toward those they were employed to, and they were expected to have that sense of loyalty and duty. And seeing a black judge and seeing a black bailiff and a black man give this white woman who had committed such an egregious act against a human being the affection has stirred controversy, and it stirred the controversy not just regarding forgiveness, but regarding privilege, white privilege. It brings to mind when in 2015, after the Charleston shooting, when the family of the victims gathered in their courthouse and repeatedly said, "I forgive you, I forgive you," and immediately it struck a chord with people. Some were calling that this is the strength of South Carolina. This is how we do it. Some saying, yeah, black folks so in their place. They're stuck in their place, and so they're gonna forgive. And others still saying, how can they forgive? It's too early. It's just happened. How can they even use those words? And I'm kind of in the same boat as the latter. How can you say, I forgive you? And he was explicit in saying this is his. Botham Jean's brother said this is individual. This is not collective. I'm not speaking on behalf of the family. And I have to commend him for saying that. Individual forgiveness is an individual thing. And you have to commend him for saying that. However, again, I go back to what I said just previously. It may be a bit too early. There was an emotional moment, and he handled it very well. And from a perspective of emotional, emotional intelligence, and he demonstrated strong emotional health. But again, not everyone is capable of doing that. A lot of people will default to emotional cutoff. We were going to cut off all positive emotions regarding this individual, and we are going to try to not be biased in our approach, but we are going to express our at least resentment in some form, that we resent that the act happened. We resent that this getting the attention that is getting. We resent that you're getting the affection that you're getting, whether you're remorseful or not. That's a natural, that will be one of the natural responses. But anyway, as pastor, I was, I would have been saying, yes, forgive, but you don't have to do it right now. As a pastor, I would have admonished the family to say, to express their grief, to express their resentment toward the entire process. If they were there, if it was present. And I would also definitely say there is no harm in saying I'm not ready or I'm not capable to forgive you at this moment. We're not Jesus. Jesus was on the cross. Jesus was bearing the burdens of the sins of the entire world, and he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. We ain't Jesus. I am not going to try to act like Jesus either. So I understand where they are coming from. Um, I understand where he was coming from. I understand the backlash from a lot of black people regarding this. It's hard, Again, we are not monolithic in our approach to life. We're not monolithic in our approach to emotional trauma. There is no set way of grieving. There's no set way of responding to grief. There's no set anything. But I do agree with this one thing. Black folk, we forgive too much. We have been the most forgiving people. We are the most forgiving people. Black women are some of the most forgiving people. I don't know, that's a blanket statement, but it's true to a degree. But man, I don't know what to make of it, honestly. This is just my commentary. I don't know what to make of it, but I do know, that part of me wants to commend him for doing that publicly. The other part wants me of being the pastoral side, the therapist side, wants to say, brother, you still have a long way to go. Now, I don't know what the relationship would look like afterwards. I know in my case, I developed a relationship with the family of the person who killed my mother. One of his nephews became a mentor and very, 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 very dear mentor of mine. And it was awkward at times when he would visit my house and interact with my grandparents because they were aware. But they did understand that he was pouring into my life. And though he was related to the person who took my mother's life, he was not that person. They were able to differentiate that. With the person who killed my brother, I have no intent of trying to create some kind of relationship, trying to understand why he did. I don't want it. I'm not trying to do it. I'm not saying that he should rot in hell or anything like that. I'm just saying I am not going to put forth any effort to try to reconcile with him. And I know Scripture says that we are ambassadors of reconciliation. I believe that's in regards to brothers and sisters who are out of grace, and that we are to extend the reconciling love of God to those. But when it comes to trying to establish a relationship with someone who committed a egregious act against my family, I don't need it. I'm good. Do I pray for him? No. I have not called that person's name in prayer at all. And I don't feel bad about it either. And with the person who killed my brother, I pray for him because I want him to feel the pain of loss. I want him to feel the guilt of taking the life of someone else. I want him to feel the burden of that, what he's caused our family, so that he would come forward and justice can go forth. That, we can't have closure until this person is caught. And I can't forgive until that person is caught. And even then, I may be reluctant to do so because who knows what the circumstances may cause him to come forward. It may be some separate related crime that has nothing to do with what happened to my brother. But will I forgive? I hope I can. How long will it be? I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I want to invite you to, I just launched a new podcast on Anchor. And it's called Be Your Differentiated Self. And go check out the intro podcast. It's a brief little clip about what podcast is about, and go to anchor.fm/ Dr. Lorenzo Neal, and you can hear that. And leave a voice message, and I'll give you a shout out on the air. Also, do all you can to support this channel here on YouTube as we do what we can. You'll have the information there in the description. We appreciate you so much. And keep doing what you're doing to make this world a better place. We all can do better. Blessings.